All right. Thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been quite a long time since I've seen you in person. I think last time I saw you was at Sister Bar and I was taking a shot with your husband.
Yeah.
And and
Wow.
yeah, but that was a long time ago.
That was a
And
long time ago.
and before that, it was even longer, I think. But still, point being, it's been a long time.
hmm
In your own words, do you really quickly want to introduce yourself? Who are you and what do you do?
Okay. I'm Jenna. Um, on the internet, I'm Jenna Elaine. I usually don't tell people my actual name, like my full legal name, just
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
I am a nurse by day, but I also am like a model, an alternative model at night. And so sometimes the two don't go over well with certain people. So I try to just keep it as Jenna Lane online for people who don't know me. So that's who I'll be today.
Okay, and that's completely fine, and it's
Yeah.
there's a lot of weirdos out there.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Especially when it comes to the modeling, and the type of modeling you do. I'm sure that I mean, have you had some weird interactions and some creepy dudes kind of following you around?
Um, yeah, unfortunately, when you go to your Instagram messages, you know how they're in that top corner, it says like the requests.
Hmm.
Like on any given day, I have like 99 plus requests, and sometimes
Wow.
I go just to be curious on what people are saying
Mm.
in those request messages, and they are, oh man, they're off the wall.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
have been some particularly nerve wracking ones, kind of like when I was doing a travel assignment in Albuquerque, I had a dude say that he saw me walking in the hospital and he knew it was
Yikes,
me,
dude.
and I'm just like, okay, block, block, block. But now he knows like where I am. And so after that, I kind of got a little bit more secretive of where I actually work. I don't,
Hmm.
before
Hmm.
I used to be like, yeah, this is the hospital I'm at now, and this is the hospital I'm at, in 3 months. But after there's been a couple incidences like that, I've been like real secretive on the exact location of
Hmm.
where I'm at.
I
Or,
mean, that's good. That's smart. That's a smart thing to
yeah.
do. So yeah, people on the internet get weird, man. It's putting content out already, right? Because the podcast and other stuff I put out, even just blogging or whatever, people are unnecessarily just fucking rude.
Oh,
You're just like they
yeah.
rip you a new asshole. And I'm just like, whoa, dude, I'm talking about like fucking, eating Fritos. I don't know, something random, and
Exactly.
they're just like, or the meanest stuff. I can only imagine like the level of creepiness that guys get on there. I mean, it's for one, a woman, and two, given that you do what kind of modeling is it, I guess, because I don't know the terminology.
Well, I classify myself as an alternative model, and that's only because I'm tattooed. I'm heavily tattooed,
Okay. Okay.
and as tattooed models were coming on the scene, that was kind of like the phrasing that everyone went to is the
I see.
alternative look, because
Hmm.
your typical model you don't think is tattooed. You think 5'10", 5'11", 120, that runway look. So that is not at all what I look like. That's not at all what a lot of my fellow alternative models look like. So that's where the phrasing comes from.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
and alternative models can model any which way they want. They can be nude models. They could
Hmm.
be just kind of your men's magazine type model, and that's more like my route.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
there's alternative models who are high fashion models now. So it just
Right.
depends upon the particular model and where they go with their career. Me, I
Usually,
chose
yeah.
the sexual, sexy side. So
Wait, it's supposed to be sexy?
yeah, I'm supposed to be.
I'm just kidding. I'm just teasing. I'm just teasing.
Sometimes I'm not.
No, 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 no. It's because you're also a photographer, right? You also do a lot of the
Yeah.
shooting. So I feel like from what I've seen is a lot of these women are also on both sides of the camera. Is that the
Yeah.
case or is it just you?
It's not just me. There are a bunch of models slash photographers. Either they were photographers first and then decided to jump
Mm-hmm.
on the other end of the camera and vice versa.
Sure.
I was a model first and decided, I really want to see what it's like to be the one taking the photos, the
Mm-hmm.
art that goes behind taking a photo, editing a photo, like
Mm-hmm.
getting the image that you visualize like in your mind. I actually really enjoy being a photographer now over being a model just because I have so many ideas and so many things I want to do that it's easier for me as the photographer to get those things done as opposed to me being a model and trying to find a photographer that works the way I want them to work and has the
Mm-hmm.
same like ideas as me, has the same level of talent as me, because that's another issue.
Yeah.
Um, so
Is there? I mean,
yeah,
there's a
and
lot
then
of
sometimes
amateurs. Mm-hmm.
well, yeah, and that's fine. Everyone starts somewhere,
Sure.
but a lot of, unfortunately, in this business, there's a lot of those amateur photographers that don't evolve past being an
Um.
amateur. There's a lot of, we call him just guy with camera, meaning he's just a guy with a camera who's taking pictures because he's kind of perverty and he doesn't
uh,
really, have
yeah.
any art
Yeah.
behind it, no creativity. He just wants a girl to, take her clothes off in front of his sheet that he tacked on a motel wall. And we have, yeah, we have plenty of,
Yeah.
safety groups, and these people usually
Mm-hmm.
get,
Mm-hmm.
outed and they're blacklisted. But because, of where we're at these days in social media and how many people just are living on earth these days, it's hard to steer away and really weed out everybody. So you're always going to find,
Yeah,
um,
yeah. I mean, there's creeps out there, and there's always going to be a new one, right? And there's
oh
always they're
yeah,
going to
exactly.
evolve and all this stuff,
Hmm.
and or the ones that you didn't realize were doing that, and they were doing
Hmm.
that the whole time. The same old Hollywood kind of situation, right? That we
Exactly.
hear.
So
Um,
that's why I like being a
mhm,
female photographer, because um, I think it helps some, girls getting into modeling and they're not
mhm.
quite comfortable. Males are making them kind of feel, you know, um, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but maybe a little skittish or a little scared. So I
Yeah,
like the fact that I'm female. I can be a little bit more
mhm,
comforting, I hope. I'm also a model with
yeah,
13 years experience, so I can help direct, and I just know how it feels to be on that other end. And so that's,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, you're very much a professional in this aspect, and in this realm. Um, what because you are very much in just the model, right? So you're not really. I mean, are you selling a lot of these photos? Are you doing like because I'm
Yeah.
kind of leading down the path of just the path of like there's OnlyFans, right? So
Yeah. So that's
so there's this whole
not
thing that
me.
right there's this whole thing that came
Yeah.
out recently with OnlyFans. Do you, in the alternative kind of modeling scene, do you all see yourself as separate from that? And
Oh,
definitely,
no.
oh, okay.
No,
Okay.
alternative models. I mean, I have a bunch of friends who model who have OnlyFans sites because that's how they're making their money. That's how they're selling their content.
Mm-hmm.
OnlyFans, yes, has the majority of OnlyFans creators are nudes, and
Mm-hmm.
they
Mm-hmm.
do their
Mm-hmm.
videos, and that's them, and they make their money, and that's freaking awesome. But there's also a lot of models who don't go that route on OnlyFans, and that's what I really like about OnlyFans, is because it gives these models an the ability to make money off of their work without it having to be, look at my tits, look at, my ass and all this.
Yeah.
There, people aren't getting it for free on Instagram, on Facebook. Like, they have to pay
Mm-hmm.
to see,
Mm-hmm.
these models and photographers' art. And that's what I really like about OnlyFans. It's not only porn, like what a lot of people
Yeah.
think.
That's what people
It's
think.
not
Yeah.
only that, it definitely is there. And that's how a lot of girls are making their money, and they're hustling and they're doing their thing. But not everyone is doing that on OnlyFans. And a lot of alternative models do have OnlyFans
Mm-hmm.
for their, exclusive content. And
It's just like a
I don't.
Patreon, right? It's just
Yeah.
like a Patreon,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
right?
So, especially in this pandemic, when not a lot of these girls are able to get out and, book photo shoots and go on their photo tours and do the things that they were doing pre-pandemic, it's a great way to still keep some cash in
Mm-hmm.
their pocket. And, some of them are setting up their tripod and their camera and they're working it themselves. And, I
It's the
have,
hustle. Yeah, you respect the
exactly
hustle.
nothing but respect for them, and
Mm-hmm.
they're just doing what they got to do.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. You have such a interesting kind of also this dualism in your professional life, right? Because you're also a nurse.
Yeah, exactly.
And so a lot of your content that I see is just like, I mean, you also had COVID recently,
Yeah.
right? So
Yep.
it's like you're not only like, do you do this stuff, but you're also like this really, I mean, from when I met you, we worked together a long time ago, and we'll touch on that. But um,
Oh.
I think a big part of I think a big part of the what I see in your personality is that you do put in a lot of effort to help people, right?
Mhm.
Nobody just goes into nursing because it's like glorious and all these things. It seems like you really want to genuinely help people.
Mhm.
And is it, I mean, has juggling these two different kind of careers been difficult? And is there a stigma around it?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely had my days where I'm like, you know what, I'm done with modeling. I'm focusing on
Yeah.
just being a nurse. Not like I've never not had that as my main focus, just because that's first and foremost, that's my career. So it'll
Hmm.
always
Hmm.
take precedent
Yeah.
over anything else. There's been times where I've had, you know, just people who have like, they've seen me like comment on like an Instagram or nursing based Instagram page. They click on my page, they see who I am and what else I do. And next thing you know, it's, oh my God, how are you a nurse? I can't believe somebody would just, be naked on the internet, even though I'm not naked or whatever. And then what kind of morals do you have? I would never, let my family member be, in the hospital with you. And I'm just sitting there kind of going like,
Yeah.
you absolutely have no idea who I am.
Yeah.
And for real, like
Hmm.
me at work, you would
Yeah.
never freaking have any idea what I do at
Yeah.
home or in my
Hmm.
free time as a hobby or whatever.
Sure.
I am nothing but professional at work.
Hmm. Hmm.
Nothing but, I don't run around, like flashing my ass and going, ooh, look at me. Like it makes no sense that people don't understand that what people decide to do outside of work has nothing to do with who they are at work. Outside of something extreme, like if I was, out, murdering people outside of work, then maybe I'd be bringing that into work. Who knows? But
Right.
it's,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's been a couple times. Luckily,
Yeah.
it hasn't been too extreme. Most in this day and age, what I'm really happy about is people are more open-minded. People are more accepting of other people, and I think social media has helped create that
Hmm.
in a way.
Hmm.
So usually, I don't let my coworkers know my social media accounts unless they're like super chill and we're actually like friends
Yeah.
and I can
I got
trust
you.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just again, because you never know. I've had nurse
Hmm.
friends who are also models who have had coworkers try to get them fired. I mean, just really petty shit. And it really, I think it just comes down to jealousy and some type of weird,
Hmm.
like, um, what's the word I'm looking for? Like they're intimidated almost. So
Yeah.
they just, yeah,
You have like you don't have all your eggs in one basket. You have a life outside of this, right? And I can
yeah.
see how nursing it's good work. It's honest work, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I think it's, we especially during this pandemic, we're seeing all the work that people put into it and how
Mm-hmm.
undervalued it is. But right,
Yeah,
to say the least.
I can get pretty like pissed off about that just because I
Yeah.
think the pandemic has shown the general public a little insight on what goes on inside a hospital,
Mm-hmm.
even now with the pandemic. And there's so many people out there
Yeah.
who literally just don't give a fuck.
No, yeah.
I think it's a slap in the face. I think it's, they take everything that they have for granted. They take
Mm-hmm.
nurses,
Mm-hmm.
doctors, every healthcare worker that is literally busting their ass at work every day for granted. They don't care about us. They don't care about the people coming through the hospital. And I mean, you follow me on Instagram. You've seen
Mm-hmm.
me go off and
Your
off and off.
rents. Yeah.
And yeah, and it just, some people, they're just not phased. And
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, I've had a couple friends that I really saw with this last year
Mm.
just, you know, kind of not take this seriously and not care about what's happening to our our fellow human beings.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I've lost some friends. I honestly have. I've decided to
Mm-hmm.
just part ways
Disconnect.
with some people that I've called friends because of it.
I can imagine. I mean, you move from the Southwest to I mean, it's debatable as to the state that you're in, whether it's the East Coast or it's the Midwest. I know
I
there's a
don't
big
know. I
debate.
mean,
What do you consider it?
I consider it East Coast since we're on Eastern Standard Time. That's the only reason. But personality and like mentality wise, the people here are Midwestern, even like kind of the Southern feel here as well. It's
Uh-huh.
really different. When you're in like the big cities here, it's
Mm-hmm.
definitely your progressive
Right.
mindset,
Right.
which is why I stick to being in the city.
Mm-hmm.
I worked a couple rural hospitals around here, and I wanted to just throw myself out a window. But it's, I
Yeah.
know that sounds terrible, but I mean, it's just the ignorance that even fell into the hospital systems in rural America
Mm-hmm.
is just,
Mm-hmm.
it's wild.
Right.
It's
Well,
wild.
there's lack of resources for one, lack of
It
respect,
is, exactly.
even more so now. I mean, these days with the pandemic and the move away from people not wanting to wear masks and just distrust
Mm-hmm,
and just taking, again, like you said, to use your words, taking the system and the people who are taking care of you for granted, right?
mm-hmm.
And putting them in danger effectively. So, I mean, being a nurse out there, it must be much more difficult than in other places. Not to say that it's not, right, but in other places as well. I'm curious, why did you move? Because
Oh,
you don't strike me as
yeah.
like a, yeah.
So I moved back in 2016 after my husband had separated from the Air Force. So he did 10
Uh,
years in the Air Force, was stationed down in Kirtland.
yeah.
He decided he was done being in the Air Force,
Mm-hmm.
and he is originally from here.
I see.
So family's here, yeah. So that was
Okay.
the plan,
Oh,
was
okay.
just to eventually make it back to where he's from. So here we are. And then I
Mm-hmm.
started doing the travel nursing too
Yeah.
a little bit after I got here, just to kind of help me get out sometimes, because
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it's not terrible here, but it's so different.
Yeah.
It's so
Yeah.
different, and the weather sucks. I hate the winters. The summers aren't bad, but then it's
Mm-hmm.
so humid. So you go from like freezing snow all the time in the winters that last all the way till May, and then we have no spring, and then it's just like 100 with 90% humidity, and then the mosquitoes are out, and you can't even step outside without getting attacked by mosquitoes. Um, so
I remember being
but
out there in that area,
yeah,
and I asked you, "What is there to do?" And you just like, you're like, nothing.
no,
You sounded
well, I
so
mean, and
upset.
it's, yeah, there's, I I was probably, I don't know if being hella bitter that day or something, but there are things to do, like in the main cities, like
Mm-hmm.
like in Columbus. I mean, I guess it's no secret that I'm in
Right.
Ohio right now, but
Mm-hmm.
Columbus is a very progressive city. It has a lot of really fun things to do, especially, pre-pandemic and hopefully
Mm-hmm.
post-pandemic. A lot of really fun restaurant and bar scenes. Like they, of course, they have their downtown area, they have their university area because Ohio State obviously is a huge college, and so Columbus is
OH.
a big college town. We got a lot of outdoor things to do. We have a huge river. We have hiking. So there are things to do here, and there's Cleveland up north, which is, they have the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They
Mm-hmm.
have
Mm-hmm.
a really, really cool downtown area. There's Cincinnati,
Yeah.
which I really like Cincinnati.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then of course, 5 hours south, you're in Nashville. 5 hours north, you're in Chicago. So it's
Yeah.
not hard
It's not
to
too
find
bad.
something to do. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, and I hear house prices, like home prices and the cost of living super low there.
I would say it's pretty average. Don't think it's super low. Of course, it's where you want to live. If you want to be in your baller loft in the middle of, Columbus, where you don't need a car because you could just take public transportation to work or walk or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, of course
Mm-hmm.
you're going to be paying your inner city prices.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to get outside the city and you want to start heading into Countryville of
Mm-hmm.
Ohio, then
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you can get some pretty nice houses for a good price. You can get land, and that's actually one of the positive things I like about Ohio is you can get a really nice setup and be like 10, 15 minutes outside of the city,
Yeah.
and you have land. And I like animals, so like one
Mm-hmm.
day I hope to
Mm-hmm.
have land and maybe some horses and chickens and
Yeah.
pygmy goats, and be just all happy and old on a farm with a bunch of animals.
A
So,
farm girl.
but if
Mm-hmm.
I'm bored and I want to do something, it's only
Yeah. Yeah.
15
Yeah.
minutes to get into the city. So,
Yeah. Well, there you go. It sounds, I mean, you're really pitching it here. Maybe I should move out there. I am a big Cleveland sports fan, if you haven't noticed
yeah.
already. And honestly, your memes recently kind of bashing on the Pittsburgh Steelers have been,
Which I'm a fan of the Steelers. So
are
I,
you?
I think, yes, I think there's nothing wrong with if your team loses and you see a
Yeah.
funny meme about it.
Yeah.
And that was hilarious. That was a funny meme. So
There's
I'm
some
going to
good ones out
share
there.
it.
So I'm like, I
Yeah.
appreciate that. And
Hmm.
you're not a sore loser. So I appreciate that. I'm definitely not, because my team has sucked for years. So, I really have no room to speak.
Yeah.
But
Well, I
okay.
was a Cowboys fan for a very, very long time, which I still am,
That's
but
what I
they were
was
like
kind
my
of,
main team for a
right.
very long time,
Yeah.
and I ditched them. I ditched them for the Steelers last year. Um,
So why'd you ditch
and
them? Why?
I was just tired of just we're always like 8-8. We're always so back and forth. I was a super fan of Dak. Like I really
Okay.
liked Dak.
Yeah.
His
Yeah.
first
Yeah. Yeah.
season, he was like, he was on it, and I was like, yes, we're gonna go somewhere. The Cowboys were finally gonna win playoff games. We're gonna go Super Bowl. And then not like it's. I don't think Dak lost it at all, but just the team overall. I'm not like the best at knowing exactly what
Sure.
like
This
each
stuff. Yeah.
position is and things
Yeah.
like that. But they just didn't go the direction I wanted them to go, and
It was
so I
now or
jumped on
never.
the Steelers bandwagon, and of course they were 11-0 before they started losing, and so I was actually pretty bitter when we lost that playoff game to Cleveland. Though Cleveland, I think, good for them. It's been like what 18 years since they won a playoff
It's
game,
been
so that
more.
was
It's been a long time. It's been a
okay,
long
yeah.
time. So my entire, yeah, they haven't been like good since the year I was born in the late '80s.
Yeah, see, and that's kind of like how the Cowboys were. Like they haven't
Yeah.
been good since the 90s,
Yeah.
since Emmett Smith and Troy
Hmm.
Aikman and like that whole Deion Sanders
Era.
era.
Yeah.
And my dad was like a huge Cowboys fan,
Uh
and so
huh. Uh
that's
huh.
how I liked the Cowboys, but they just weren't doing it for me anymore.
It's time to move
I was
on. It's
more
time to
upset
move
than
on.
I was happy. So
You did it. It's a good self care and self care move to step away from that.
sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes. Okay, so I mean, going back a little bit, you are from New Mexico originally, correct?
Yes, and also California. I lived in I grew up in California
Okay.
before my dad moved us back to do Albuquerque in ninth
Oh,
grade.
okay.
So at the end of ninth grade, like literally like April of 2000, I was in Albuquerque going to Manzano High School.
Oh, you went to Manzano, huh?
Hmm.
Sounds like fun. What was it like?
One of the better ones.
Yeah. I'll give it that. So what was it like for you kind of to move to Albuquerque from California as a high school student? Because you hear all these stories
Yeah.
in Albuquerque at that point. I mean, it was it's Albuquerque, right?
Yeah. Not as bad as it is now, but it was headed
Okay.
that way. It wasn't weird because I'd already lived in New Mexico. My mom lived in New Mexico
Okay.
already.
Okay.
I had friends from elementary school
Oh, okay.
there.
So you had some
Yeah,
sort of
I
roots here.
already.
Okay.
Mhm. Exactly. So my mom and dad were divorced since I was little.
Mm-hmm.
So going back and forth between the two of them, and then my dad eventually living in California, and then me going out and living out there and going to middle school there and starting high school there.
Mm-hmm.
I was definitely feeling California a lot more,
Right.
but he moved back, obviously, and so you can't stay as a 14-year-old,
Yeah.
so I was back, and it was like you said, it's New Mexico. Like, I'm this new girl in ninth grade, and all the little, you know,
What
I
was
want
high
to say
school? What
little
was high school
bitches
gym?
would be
Yeah.
like, there's a new girl, and I was already trying to get like jumped at my locker. They were like
Oh, no
starting a
way.
rumor. I'm
It's like
so
so
glad I'm not in
it's
high
like
school
Mean
anymore.
Girls. I know, Mean Girls
Yeah,
all over
it's
again.
like it's Mean Girls, but it's Burkenya style. Like they don't fuck around.
They'll
They're
fight
not
you.
just gonna, exactly. They'll fight you. Exactly. They're not just,
Hmm.
being
Yeah.
condescending behind your back. They're,
In your face,
fighting
like
people. Yeah.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
in California, there was no one fought each other. Like that was
Hmm.
not a thing. Like
Hmm.
no one was behind the science building fighting. It just
You just said the most Albuquerque like high
yeah,
school statement ever.
exactly.
Like
You
we're
come to Albuquerque and there's a fucking daily fight
yeah.
behind the in the cafeteria behind the science building. Like they plan that shit too. It's
Hmm.
not like a spur of the moment. They're like planning, like, we're gonna get in a fight at 3:15
Pay
science
per
building.
view, right? Like yeah.
And everyone hears about it, so there's this huge group of people, and
That's what I was telling a
oh
friend
man.
recently. We were going around downtown Albuquerque shooting just photos, right? And we hear like a scuffle off in the distance. And the first thing in my head was, I mean, like the most Albuquerque thing to do is to run towards the chaos.
Of course,
Because
right? Why
I
would we
want to
do
see,
that?
I want to see like what's
We
going
gotta
on.
see. Yeah.
And it's just the
Now you don't want
wildest
to do
thing.
that because you'll get stabbed or shot.
I
You want to
know.
run away.
You run away, you're like, yeah. No, I mean, as like in my 30s, I'm like, okay, I got to step
Yeah.
away from that. But which is very, what was high school Jenna like then? Like, because how old we met in 2011? How old were you at that point?
2011, I was 26.
You're 26. All right. So
Yeah.
2011, you're 26. We
Um,
met at where?
you're breaking up a little bit.
Yeah, I can tell that you're slowing down, which is not a big deal. Okay. I don't know. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Yeah.
No. Okay, cool. So, yeah, you're 26 in 2011. We met working at Spirit Halloween, obviously, just like a temporary gig. That place is now a Chinese buffet restaurant.
Of course
Uh,
it is. That's
because it's
funny.
just yeah, I know it's kind of wild, but that was such a kind of fun, weird job at the same time. So anytime I go in there, I just think of that time, and just I think of you very vividly because you were like my favorite, most fun coworker. Because you kind of
Yeah, we
just
had the best time there.
you didn't really give a shit.
Yeah.
So
Well, I
what was
mean,
Jenna like at that time? What was she going through?
oh man. So, well, your initial question was, what was high school Jenna like? And high school Jenna was,
Mhm.
I was not that cool. at all. I had, you know, a couple of friends here and there. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
like school, so I wasn't ever really there. I did what I had to do to graduate early. I got extra credits and
Mm-hmm.
just
Mm-hmm.
got out
Mm-hmm.
of there by 2002. 26-year-old Jenna, oh man, I mean, you, shit, I was
Wild.
I was wild. I was right into starting nursing school, um, or right finishing nursing school, I think. I don't
Mm-hmm.
quite remember. I was fresh out of a divorce, um,
Oh, I
only
forgot
after
about
being,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'd only been married for less than a year. You know, it's just one of those things. So I was wild. I had, I had just met um, my well, he was just my boyfriend at the time. We just met, current husband, and I would not tell him that I worked at Spirit Halloween.
Oh,
Like I didn't tell him.
I forgot you told
And
me this.
so for
Yeah.
yeah, so the longest time he thought I was a stripper because I wouldn't tell him where I worked.
Why? Why?
So
So why? Why were you ashamed of working there?
no, not at all. And I really don't think I have an actual reason to why. Not like I think like he would be some weirdo like walking up into Spirit, but I just didn't tell him. I eventually did after it had been, you know, a few weeks and stuff, and he still didn't believe me. He thought I made it up, but
Yeah.
I
Yeah. I mean,
still,
it's.
yeah,
I
I
mean, because nobody
remember.
really brags about it. It's not on your resume. You like worked at Spirit Halloween.
No, Spirit Halloween is not on my resume. I do tell people though that I've worked at Spirit Halloween because I think it's just a really random time in my life to be a 26-year-old
Yeah.
working at Spirit Halloween while going
Mm-hmm.
to nursing school. And
Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm-hmm.
I think I remember getting that job because my buddy Lucas, his like family, I believe, owned that particular
Yeah.
location, or I
Yeah.
don't know
Something like
how
that.
that
Yeah.
works, but he got me the job there. And you know, I had known him just from, he was a bar back at a bar I bartended at.
Oh, nice.
So you know, I really just wanted to work there for the discount, so it was fun.
Yeah. I mean, we got cool costumes. I'm not gonna lie. It was a
Yeah,
fun time. So I do kind of drop that as a fun fact every now and then. I'm like, oh
yeah.
yeah, I worked at Spirit Halloween. Um, it's kind of a wild, interesting fact. But with that said, I mean, after that, I mean, were you modeling at that point? Because I don't remember that about you during that time.
Well, social media was a thing, but it
Hmm.
wasn't like it is now. So I had
Hmm.
a Facebook probably. I
Hmm.
don't even know if I had Instagram yet. I don't know when Instagram became a thing.
Yeah.
But I've actually been modeling since I was a kid, technically. I
Oh,
did a lot
okay.
of kid modeling. My grandma put me in those John Robert Powers modeling schools.
Hmm.
Do you
Hmm.
remember those?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I was in like J.C. Penney catalogs and
Oh,
Burlington Coat Factory catalogs as a kid. And
interesting. Okay.
I didn't grow to be tall. I'm 5'7", which is taller for a female, but it's not your, back then to be a model, you had to be at least 5'8", five
Hmm.
nine, but on the
Hmm.
upwards of 5'10", 5'11" to really go anywhere with it.
Yeah.
So I didn't grow tall. I'm definitely not rail thin too, which was a huge thing back then. Definitely not anymore. So that's when I was in high school. Obviously, didn't do anything in high school, and then in my 20s, early 20s, like literally like 21, like real early, when I started getting tattooed, I got back into it from social media, from MySpace actually, kind of seeing
Oh,
some,
okay.
yeah, having
Yeah.
some MySpace friends and finding friends and photographers and stuff. And I actually got back into modeling. Do you remember Sauce and Raw?
Yeah. Yeah, I
Okay.
remember that place.
Okay.
Sorry for
Yeah.
the laugh. I'm
So,
like, wow, time
yeah.
capsule. Yeah,
So
that was a long time ago.
my first modeling gig as an adult, as a
Mhm.
tattoo model, was to be in Sauce and Raw's calendar. like
Nice.
their 2007 calendar.
Yeah.
And I went downtown and I shot with this photographer. I don't remember his name. And yeah.
What was your first tattoo?
Huh?
What was your first tattoo?
Um, wow, it's a tramp stamp. It was literally, okay, it's so embarrassing. And I still haven't covered it up, which has been
Nice.
my goal for like 20 years. But Hot
Hmm.
Topic, remember those like window decals that you could buy at Hot Topic? So yeah,
Yes.
it's a butterfly with like a little tribal design that I purchased for $2.99 at Hot Topic, took it into a tattoo shop. I'm underage with my dad. My dad signed it for me and got a fucking tramp stamp at 17 years old.
Nice. Woo.
So yeah, and it was all downhill from there.
That's all downhill from there. I
Yeah,
mean, that's
and
that's
then
you know,
yeah,
it's the start, right? It's a start.
yeah, it's still there. It's still awful. Actually, my first tattoo, my tramp stamp, is still on like if you just Google tramp stamps or like tribal
Hmm.
tattoos, there's a particular picture of me modeling with it that is just a stock photo that shows up on Google.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, it's funny.
That's kind of
Yeah,
wild.
so
So
it's
there you
still out
go.
there.
From the tramp
Yeah,
stamp to where you are now. Um,
exactly.
you were recently voted, or what was this accolade that you got on a magazine, right? Ink magazine?
Okay, yeah.
What was that?
I was chosen for 2020's Inked Model of the Year, particularly for this publishing company that puts out their ultraviolet inked edition, and then Epitome magazine, which I was on the cover of their inked edition. So since I had the double covers last year and some multiple publications, they chose me as their 2020 Model of the Year, and it was such a surprise. They gave me
Yeah,
no warning. One day I
really?
just was on social media and they tagged me in their post, and
Oh,
I
no
was like,
way.
yeah, yeah. They
That's
kind of just
wild.
sprung it on me, surprised me, and put the cover out, and I was just super grateful to be recognized.
Hmm. Hmm.
Exactly, since I've been doing this for so long, and yeah, I
I mean,
probably
yeah.
will end my career on that high note, because every year
Yeah.
now that I'm turning 36, I'm like, I'm not going to be doing this shit anymore. I'm too old, but you never know.
You never
I'm
know. So, I
actually
mean, that's
going to a shoot today, so
well, I mean, there's that. It's so that I guess that kind of brings me full circle down to like what your because nursing is your career, like you said, right? And it's I think it's
yeah,
I think
and
it's good work.
I'm
Mhm.
I'm actually in school. Oh, I took a break right now, but I plan on getting my acute care nurse practitioner. So
Okay.
yeah, my end goal is that. Of course, by the time I'm finished with school, which I really only have like a year, so it's not that far away.
Congrats. Yeah,
Um,
it's a big deal.
it's clinicals and stuff. Once that's all done and I'm licensed as a nurse practitioner, and my goal is to actually be a surgical NP and work privately
Hmm. Hmm.
a with a particular surgeon. That's all going to be done.
Okay.
I won't
So,
be modeling. I'll probably be doing photography and stuff, but I feel stepping up my game and being a nurse practitioner, that's just going to take me to where I want to be in life.
hmm,
And not that I won't want to model, I just think I won't have the time. I think I'll just kind of
I got
be
you.
just
Living
over
your
that
life.
part of my life. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I mean, you'll still have the photography, right? And I think you've built
yeah,
quite a name up
hopefully.
for
Yeah.
yourself, right? I mean, you don't end up on the cover of Ink magazine for no reason. I'm assuming, I don't know, I don't, know the people in this industry. You're well known at this point. Is
I
that fair
think,
to assume?
I mean, yeah,
Hmm.
probably not as well known as some people, but
Hmm.
yeah, I think I've put out a fairly good name for myself out there. I definitely don't know anyone who wouldn't want to work with me, or who would
Yeah.
say,
Yeah.
ew, not Jenna, gross. Like, no, hopefully not, but
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think so either. So I mean, I think a big part of, my curiosity is where, yeah, are you when is the end? I think you just kind of alluded to that, honestly. You said that you're
Yeah,
going out on top. That's a big deal. Um, it's not to say that you won't do one-off shoots here and there. Obviously, you're doing one today,
yeah,
but it's it's are you going to be putting it on the back burner?
yeah. And then, I know I don't look 36. I get told that all the time. Um, but one
Mm-hmm.
day I will start to age.
Mm-hmm.
No one's
Mm-hmm.
trying to look at, you know, old ass ladies.
There's
I
some
get
attractive
it.
older tattooed women out there.
I know, and that's who I'm going to be. But I don't think I'm going to be, necessarily
I got you.
modeling in lingerie when, I will. I will call it. I'll know when it's the right time, and I
Mm-hmm.
believe it'll be once I'm, where I'm at with my degree and my career, and just kind of focus more on that and working 20, 25 more years as a nurse practitioner, and that'll be it.
Yeah. I mean, so words of wisdom is what I tend to, what some of my guests ask for anybody out there kind of looking to do either nursing or modeling or looking for a new tattoo. um, I mean, if you had to say anything to anybody out there, just kind of something that just you feel like is you want to say and you want the platform to say it, what would you say?
Oh man.
I mean, it's a big question,
um,
right?
yeah. See, this was when I told you earlier. I was like, don't let me get flustered. This will be
It's
that
not
point where I'm like, shit, what do I say? If someone's like, give me some advice,
it
what
doesn't
should
have to be
I
deep and
say?
impactful. I mean,
Oh
somebody told me once, they're
no.
like, you know what? Hydrate, eat your greens.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to being a nurse, you what you got to do is you just got to do it. You don't
Mm-hmm.
know if it's going to be right for you. You don't know if you're going to be able to
Mm-hmm.
handle it. You don't know any of that until you
Mm-hmm.
try, until you just do it. So
Mm-hmm.
you just
Mm-hmm.
go to nursing school, give it a try.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, more than half of who start nursing school actually drop out.
Mm-hmm.
So I started with a class of like over 30, and I believe less than 15 of us actually graduated.
Yeah.
So, but there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with trying something and realizing that it's not for you
Mm-hmm.
at all. It's
Yeah.
not failing at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think people are so afraid of failure that it deters them from trying something that they think that they would be good at, or something that they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And same thing with modeling. I mean, you don't know until you try it. And so try it. You might love it, you might
Mm-hmm.
hate it.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, you tried it. As
Yeah.
far as getting a new tattoo, don't do what I did for
Okay.
your first tattoo. And
Uh-huh.
I get younger people as patients all the time. They're always like super like happy that I'm their nurse. They're like, oh my gosh, you have tattoos. I've always been told that I'll never be able to do anything, professional wise if I get tattoos
Mm-hmm.
and this and
Mm-hmm.
that. And I'm like, well, that's clearly untrue. Luckily, that generation of people aren't really making the decisions of what's professional and what's not professional anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I do believe you should wait until you're a little bit older. I know 18, you're an adult and you can get your first tattoo, but who you are as an 18-year-old and who you are as a 30-year-old, two different
Mm-hmm.
fucking people, like
Yeah. Yeah.
completely.
Oh yeah.
So like I have sons. I have a 14-year-old who eventually is going to want to get tattooed. He's already mentioned it. And I said, you think that you're going to go as an 18-year-old and start getting tattooed? I said, please don't. I said, at least wait till you're in your at least 20s, like mid 20s, I'd even say.
Mm-hmm.
Like know
Mm-hmm.
who you're growing into, because I have so many tattoos that I got early on because I just wanted a tattoo. Because I'm like, yeah, let's just tattoo, tattoo, tattoo. And I have all these meaningless, just stupid tattoos on me that
Yeah.
I'm either covering up or trying to like work over to make them look better. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
I tell people that all the time. I tell young people, just wait. I know
Yeah.
it seems so cool to go get a tattoo. Like you want to be cool. I get it.
Yeah.
But tattoos really aren't that like, I'm not any cooler than someone who doesn't have
No.
tattoos. Like, you know, it's
No.
just
So many people have tattoos these days. It's almost more punk rock
exactly,
to not have them.
exactly. And everything
Right.
becomes full circle. So
Mm-hmm.
give it 10, 20, 30 years and tattoos aren't going to be a thing anymore.
Right. It's not going to be cool to have them. We're
Mm-mm.
just going to be a generation of fully tattooed grandparents.
Exactly, which I'm stoked for, honestly.
No,
I
same
mean,
here. Yeah.
of course, when I was younger, I was doing it to try to be cool. But, you know, now that I 35, about to be 36,
Yeah.
I get
Yeah.
tattooed for the art,
Mm-hmm.
not because it's cool or whatever.
No,
But
no, I'm commissioning somebody to do a piece of art on me. Right.
yeah, exactly.
Right.
Hmm.
Which is really awesome. Jenna, I'm going to debrief with you really quickly and I'm going to hit
Okay.
pause, but I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. I know we've been trying to book this for a while. Our
I know.
schedules and all of this have
My
just not
schedule's
lined
always.
up.
Hmm.
You're a busy, in-demand person. I totally get it. Very important person. And I want to, on the behalf of like the listeners and everyone out there, like for one, thanks for like destigmatizing tattoos for one. Two, thank you for all the work you do as a nurse. It's a big deal.
Yep.
It's not nothing. You literally got COVID uh,
I did
doing
at work.
right at work, and it's
Yeah.
not something that we need to take lightly. So, and thanks for being like a breath of fresh air and hilarious on the internet.
Oh yeah.
You're just always
I
cracking me
try.
up. So
Yeah.
thank you for letting me respond to your posts because sometimes you post some funny shit. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Um, you're welcome back anytime. I hope that your career continues with whatever you're doing. So again, thank you for that. I'm going to hit stop record. If you guys are listening, thank you for listening. We will talk to you all soon. Bye.